The US and Taiwan have launched a new framework for bilateral trade.
A scuffle broke out in the legislature over a controversial amendment. Stash talks with Hioe about what it means for former President Chen Shui-bian.
We also give you the latest outlook on Taiwan's outbreak, and COVID analyst Chase Nelson tells us about long COVID.
And in Hashtag Taiwan, we're talking about zongzi, the Dragon Boat Festival treat. This is Taiwan Insider.
Welcome to the show. Taiwan and the U.S. are finally moving forward towards a new trade agreement. A new framework was announced Wednesday night.
Senior government officials announced a breakthrough in economic ties with Washington on Wednesday, the US-Taiwan Initiative on 21st Century Trade. Top trade negotiator John Dung says he's waited 30 years for this deal. He says he hopes the negotiating platform will help Taiwan and the US build even closer ties. The initiative launches talks on topics ranging from facilitating trade to fighting corruption. If the two sides agree on a decision, they can sign a formal agreement. The US hasn't offered to cut tariffs, but Taiwan officials see the initiative as a big step towards a free trade deal. Dung says the US and Taiwan should commit to negotiating as quickly as possible. He says any points of disagreement can be left to decide later. Washington's move to strengthen ties with Taiwan comes at a time of tension between the US and China, but Taiwan officials are playing down the geopolitical angle. Dung says he doesn't want the initiative to become politicized. He says Taiwan and the US have long enjoyed close economic ties. With the first talks taking place at the end of June, Taiwan is hoping the new initiative can lead the two countries to a much more lucrative deal.
This came, however, after Taiwan's disappointment in not being included in the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, a regional framework led by the U.S. Stanford University political scientist Carl Templeman tells us why Taiwan was left out.
Frankly, Taiwan is a problem for some of the other countries who the Biden administration was trying to recruit to join. So, just like with the Trans-Pacific Partnership negotiations, Taiwan's entry into an economic agreement would be opposed by a couple of these members because they're worried about pressure from China. In particular, Vietnam and Malaysia are the two countries that I've heard would be unlikely to participate if Taiwan were involved. And so the Biden administration made a hard decision to leave Taiwan out of this and to try to recruit as many other countries as possible. So that's kind of the political calculation behind this. But it does, to be fair, it does create a policy that looks like a bit of a contradiction.
Next up, Staś Butler tells you about the latest commotion in Taiwan's legislature.
Now, Taiwanese lawmakers are no strangers to scuffling over contentious issues, and on Monday we saw just that. Politicians threw water bottles and grappled with one another in the legislature. The opposition was protesting an amendment that will drop charges of corruption against a former President, Chen Shui-bian, who's a member of the ruling party. I asked the editor of New Bloom magazine, Brian Cho, what this means for Chen and the multiple cases against him.
So it clears some charges, but it doesn't clear all of them. And this was the charges he was facing regarding improper use of government funds was still under trial. It was under second retrial at the Taiwan High Court. But what Chen is not cleared of is charges regarding to accusation of bribery, for example, regarding the naming officials to positions or regarding a land deal. And so these will still continue to affect him. So it doesn't clear him of everything. But I think particularly the way it is framed up by the Pan Blue camp, it is as though he is cleared of all charges. And so I think, for example, one has seen calls from Deep Greens for Tsai to pardon Chen. This is not what happened. Even with this passage, he's not cleared of all charges. But I think that the Pan Blue camp will frame it up this way.
I mean, clearly, this is an issue that, gets both parties, gets their blood going, if that's the right phrase to use. Why is the government doing this, and why is the opposition so opposed to it?
So I think in some way this is a concession to the Deep Greens from the DPP. And so this is interesting because of the fact that the Tsai administration has faced opposition for the past from the Deep Greens. During the lead up to 2020 elections, Tsai saw a challenge from the Formosa Alliance, which was composed of pro-independence elders of the Taiwanese independence movement. They did not think that she was strong enough on issues such as Taiwanese independence. They were also opposed to social progressive measures passed by Tsai, such as legalizing gay marriage. And there's accusations of misogyny, for example, from these kind of pro-independence elders who are mostly men. And so there's a split in the party, but I think particularly for Tsai, I think, and the DPP, it's an attempt to perhaps get these elders in the party that are in the pan-green camp still on the same camp. I think there's perhaps concern about them becoming satisfied with the DPP in the future. There has been some drift of even deep greens towards the deep blues, kind of alignment with people on the other side of the political spectrum, and so forth.
Are there any signs that, in the days following this amendment, that there has been a significant kind of public backlash, or has this really kind of flown under the radar, and are voters willing to kind of forgive this kind of thing, given the present circumstances of COVID-19?
I think it is interesting timing because news is blanketed by news of COVID-19. And so when the KMT even tries to attack the DPP regarding this issue, they use the COVID-19 framing because that's the way to get attention. And I think that the KMT would not have resorted to such drastic means unless they thought they could really gain from this. But I also do question this because I don't think this resonates as much with the public at present. It may come up down the line and be part of a kind of narrative building by the KMT saying the DPP is growing corrupt. They're trying to cover for their own and that sort of thing. But I think that now it is sort of passing by in the news cycle. And there's other news too, for example, such as U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth visiting Taiwan, and the possibility of cooperation between Taiwan and the U.S. Coast Guard. And so I think other news stories kind of drown this over. So I think this is part of why this timing is chosen at present. But then what's interesting, I think, is particularly that the changes to Article 99.1 of the Accounting Act were originally pushed from the KMT in order to clear Ma Ying-jeou and other KMT politicians that were accused of corruption of using special funds of being found guilty and that sort of thing. And so the DPP is now using the same measure for Chen. And so then I think it adds to the accusation against the DPP of having resort to the same means as the KMT or reverse position of the KMT on issues ranging from ractopamine pork to the referendum and other issues like that. And so this might come up in the future. And I think particularly then for other parties, such as third parties, they might leverage on this to claim that, well, the DPP is getting corrupt as well. The KMT has always been corrupt, and so you should vote for us. So whether that happens remains to be seen, but that might be something that takes place in the future.
Now, next up, Leslie has the latest on Taiwan's COVID outbreak.
Daily COVID-19 numbers in Taiwan have been hovering around 60 to 90,000 cases a day. Now, that has people wondering if the pandemic situation in Taiwan is either reaching a peak or plateauing out. Idamar Waxman tells you what Taiwan's health authorities have to say about that.
With daily cases appearing to stabilize, many are wondering if Taiwan's COVID outbreak is hitting a peak. Health Minister Chen Shui-bian says the rate of spread seems to be going down in northern Taiwan, while in the rest of the country it's still increasing. Dr. Huang Limin says that cases are only slowly following in the north and rising in other parts of Taiwan. This means the country may not see a reduction in overall daily cases until the end of June. Xinguang Hospital Director Hong Ziren says he thinks daily cases will hover between 60,000 and 70,000 in the coming month. Hong says cases may start to slowly fall after the Dragon Boat Festival later this week. Authorities are also planning to ease border restrictions. Starting June 1st, all inbound travelers will do saliva-based PCR tests, and the quota of incoming travelers will be raised to 25,000 per week. Quarantine requirements may also be reduced soon. Dr. Huang says the most important consideration around easing border restrictions is other variants. He says if a different variant begins spreading in Taiwan, it could cause cases to start rising again. Doctors say that even if cases rise again due to new variants, the situation won't be worse than the current outbreak. They say that even with the risks involved, easing restrictions is important to getting life back to normal.
The U.S. Centers for Disease Control says that around 1 in 5 American COVID survivors suffer from long-term effects of the illness. Computational biologist Chase Nelson, who's studying Taiwan's pandemic situation, tells you more about long COVID.
A fraction of the people who have COVID-19 symptoms will go on to experience something called long COVID. And there's not a whole lot of awareness about this in Taiwan that I'm aware of. But people should know that this is possible, that maybe, estimates vary widely, but maybe 5% of those who have symptoms of COVID will go on to experience things like fatigue for many months. And so just because Omicron may be mild in the majority of cases doesn't mean that there aren't severe cases or sequelae, things that last a long time. And really the point that I want to make is that
a small fraction of an enormous number is still a big number. And so it's important to limit the total number of cases, especially when this is really Taiwan's first outbreak. It did so well. This is the first sort of unmitigated spread, if you will. And so we're not quite sure what we're in for yet. We don't have a lot of natural immunity in the population. And I think that it's kind of our duty as residents to limit the number of cases as much as possible so that our healthcare workers can really have a fighting chance in the weeks and months ahead.
Is there anything you'd like to tell the people of Taiwan at this time?
Yeah, I mean, Taiwan jiao, it's going to be a difficult couple of months, I think. We haven't really seen this situation yet, and I just encourage you to take as many precautions as possible. Encourage your elderly to get vaccinated if they have not. Make it easy for them. Let them know that they still have a chance to be vaccinated before they encounter Omicron. Do things like open windows, wear masks at the gym, maybe dine out a little less. All of these things, if everyone does a little bit, together it can make a big impact in bringing down that peak of cases that we're going to experience.
Next up, Leslie wades into a culinary debate that's divided the country in Hashtag Taiwan.
Dragon Boat Festival is coming up this weekend. It's a holiday that prominently features, well, dragon boats, and more specifically, dragon boat races. But like any good holiday, there's also food, and during Dragon Boat Festival, we eat zongzi, also known as sticky rice dumplings. If you're like me, then you like sticky rice dumpling. But if you're more like Tomasz Koper of the RTI English service, who hails from the land of pierogi, then you take issue with zongzi being called sticky rice dumplings because technically, they're not dumplings. So out of respect for him, we are no longer going to be calling zongzi sticky rice dumplings. We're going to stick to zongzi. Zongzis are more like rice balls stuffed with various ingredients. In Taiwan, zongzis are usually stuffed with things like pork, mushrooms, dried shrimp, egg yolk, peanuts, among other things. People like to eat them with different sauces and toppings, but zongzi come in many forms. There are savory zongzi, sweet zongzi, Vietnamese zongzi, Cantonese zongzi, you name it. Come this time of year, there's always one heated online discussion that takes center stage. And that discussion is, which is better, Northern Taiwan zongzi or Southern Taiwan zongzi? This question is like asking American people, where does the best barbecue in the United States come from? People are going to have opinions about it, and they're going to get defensive about those opinions. So, Northern and Southern zongzi, what's the difference between the two? Well, there are several minute differences when it comes to ingredients, but the biggest thing separating the two is how they're cooked. Northern zongzi are steamed, while Southern zongzi are boiled. This year though, I found another zongzi-related discussion going around the internet. Taiwan TV show Super Taste asked their fans what ingredients must go into your zongzi. While some responses were pretty straightforward like chestnuts, pork belly, mushrooms, egg yolk, shallots, peanuts, other people said stuff like, whatever is in zongzi, just make sure grandma's hair isn't in there, which unfortunately is something I can relate to. One bougie person even said they like Japanese scallops in their zongzi, which I can't comment on. Whether or not you've had zongzi before, well, this week is the perfect time to try one. I myself look forward to eating several zongzi no matter what style they are. Just please, no grandma's hair. Hashtag all zongzi are delicious.
And before we go, let's take a look at some of the other stories that are on our radar.
Taiwan's Air Force Academy suspended all flight training after an AT-3 jet trainer crashed in Kaohsiung on Tuesday morning. The aircraft disappeared from the radar 5 minutes after taking off. The pilot's body was later found among the debris. He was conducting his second ever solo training flight. The AT-3 was developed domestically in Taiwan in the 1980s with the help of the American aircraft manufacturer Northrop. Taiwan's Air Force still operates over 60 aircraft of this type. Authorities are still investigating the cause of the crash. Taiwan opened 7 mass vaccination sites for children on Wednesday. They are located in the country's biggest cities and give out doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. No appointments are necessary. Taiwan only started allowing vaccinations of children aged 6 and up in April, so inoculation rates in that group are still low. The sites will remain open over the coming Dragon Boat holiday. Japan has opened its borders to non-tourist travel starting Wednesday and will start letting in tourists from June 10th. Entries will be limited to 20,000 people daily for each of the two categories. Travelers from Taiwan will not have to apply for visas, take tests on arrival, nor undergo quarantine. Japan is one of the most popular tourist destinations for people in Taiwan. In 2019 alone, almost 5 million Taiwanese traveled to Japan. However, travel restrictions and quarantine requirements are still in place in Taiwan.
And we're back in the studio for the final question of the week, and this week's question is going to be the same question that I revealed in Hashtag Taiwan, which is, what ingredient can you not do without in your zongzi? Natalie, what's your answer?
Well, the first thing I usually go for is the chestnut. I think it's really nice and warm and very tasty.
People agreed with you on that, and Staś says he has a very good last answer, so I'm going to go next. I would say pork belly because that's always,
that's the best part, actually.
Yes, it's the star of the show. It's like the prize at the bottom of the cereal box. I love that one. And Staś, what's your answer?
Well, I've gone for something a little more figurative. What I like most in my zongzi is festive spirit.
That's sweet.
It doesn't matter what's inside my zongzi as long as I'm with the people I love.
Inside of us all
Yeah, the zongzi you eat are really the friends you made along the way. That's just about it from us from Taiwan Insider. I'm Staś Butler.
I'm Natalie Tso.
And I'm Liao.
Make sure to follow us on social media channels. You can catch us on Facebook and YouTube.
Also Twitter and Instagram.
And we'll be back next week with another edition of Taiwan Insider. Until then, guys, happy Dragon Boat Festival. See you around.